And first on News 8 at 4:30, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton surrendered today on felony charges. But he was only in the Collin County Jail for just minutes. We're going to walk you through what happened today and what his charges are, and also what it means for you and for our state. News 8 at 4:30 starts now.
Live from Victory Park, this is News 8 at 4.
And now at 4:30, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton out of jail this afternoon after surrendering and then quickly bonding out of the Collin County Jail. He faces 3 felony charges, 2 for securities fraud and a 3rd for failing to register with the state to sell securities. If he's found guilty, this could mean he'll spend life in prison. Paxton surrendered this morning and our crews were at the jail, but his security team was careful. They kept him out of the public eye. Good afternoon, I'm Marcus Moore. Thank you for joining us for News 8 at 4 o'clock. This afternoon, Governor Greg Abbott released this statement on your screen here. This about Paxton's indictment saying, quote, "Everyone is entitled to due process under the law. As a former judge, I recognize this the first step in a lengthy process and will respect that process as it moves forward." But Texas Democrats are calling for Paxton to step down. And today they protested outside the Collin County Courthouse. News 8's Monica Hernandez was there to hear their take.
Well, right now, Texas Democrats are asking Attorney General Ken Paxton to resign now that he has been booked on 3 felony charges. Here with me now is Manny Garcia. He's the deputy director of the Texas Democratic Party. And Manny, tell me why you're here today.
Well, we're here today because Ken Paxton has admitted to breaking the law. He is the chief law enforcement official of the state of Texas, and he's facing up to 99 years in jail. So we're concerned about the state of our state, and we're concerned about the criminal justice system in our state. What we want to do is we want him to step down. We want him to take responsibility for his actions and face those consequences.
By law, he doesn't have to step down.
Ken Paxton has already admitted to breaking the law, and I don't think there's any reason why an admitted lawbreaker should be the chief law enforcement official of the state of Texas. It casts a shadow over the entire system.
Sure. Now, this is the Texas Democratic Party. You said that conservatives haven't reached out to join the effort to ask for him to resign. So is this a partisan issue?
Listen, the Texas Rangers conducted the investigation into Ken Paxton's 3 felony indictments. He admitted to breaking the law, and a conservative Collin County grand jury indicted him on this. This isn't anything about politics. This is about the Attorney General of the state of Texas defrauding his fellow Texans. What we hope is that this doesn't have to be a partisan issue. Republicans can join us. They can say they respect the rule of the law as well, and they can say that we want an Attorney General that shares those values. Unfortunately, we've seen nothing but silence from them.
Last thing I want to ask you, you said you had some concerns about the process already. Tell me about that.
Well, unfortunately, Ken Paxton took a mugshot without the traditional white towel that every person in Collin County that has to take a mugshot has to put on. So he received some special privileges when he went and presented himself in front of the jail for his felony indictments. We want to make sure that as the process goes through, that the letter of the law is followed and that no special privileges are given. If you're a random person who has to go to jail, you have to take a mugshot with that white towel on, and Ken Paxton should have done it as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I appreciate it. And again, Texas Democrats rallying in front of the Collin County Courthouse where the indictment against Ken Paxton, those 3 felony indictments, were unsealed this afternoon, calling on him to resign. Now, whether or not he does, that's yet to be seen. But Republicans have called this a political witch hunt, the Paxton camp coming out in support of him. We'll see what happens next and bring you the very latest as soon as it comes in. In Collin County, Monica Hernandez, Channel 8 News.
And we do know you have a lot of questions about what this means for Texas. Certainly the top law enforcement official in the state of Texas now accused of committing a crime. This is something that we have been following for quite a while. Word of this more than a year ago. And in many ways it is perhaps can be a case study, because extremely rare that you will have a top state official accused of a crime and then it be the Attorney General. Joining me now, we have 3 experts in this field. Paul Coggins on the far right, former U.S. Attorney. We also have Ray Jackson just to the left of Paul here, who represented Don Hill in his corruption case back in 2009, and then John Teakell, a criminal defense attorney. Thank you all for being with us this afternoon. Mr. Coggins, I want to start with you, if you can. Can you just, in layman's terms, break this down for us? Because, you know, we hear securities fraud, and many people will wonder, what exactly is that? What is he accused of doing, and why should we care?
Okay, 3 separate indictments. The first indictment is a 3rd-degree felony, and that's for failure to register as an investment advisor. And of course, a lot of hay has been made about that because Mr. Paxton, General Paxton, was one of the people who voted to upgrade that to a felony. So that was about 10 years ago. The other 2 counts are the more serious counts. They are the securities fraud counts, and basically it involves either a false statement or a failure to make a statement that is a knowing omission. In this case, the failure to state that he was not actually an investor in what he was selling, and also the failure to apprise 2 individuals that he was getting a commission from the sale of these securities.
And so we had people who invested a lot of money, allegedly, and feel like they were defrauded out of that money. And we know that investigation turned into something bigger when the Texas Rangers got involved. And Mr. Jackson, you represented Don Hill in his corruption case, so you're very well versed in high-profile cases like this. There have been calls, we've heard, from people who want Mr. Paxton to step down as he's facing these criminal charges. Should he step down, or what do you tell your client in a situation like this?
Well, I mean, I told my client not to talk about the case itself, but he shouldn't step down because he's innocent until proven guilty. At this point, he wants to go about his daily business as if he's not guilty. One of the things that I think that I would fear as a defense attorney is, right now they're saying that he received these monies as commissions. Technically, if he was not registered with the state board, then he cannot receive commissions. What it in effect is he was receiving kickbacks. See, kickback has a negative connotation to it, and they want to be careful of how they describe what was going on, because if he was receiving commissions and he was doing it improperly, well, that doesn't sound as bad as a state official receiving kickbacks. So I think that his attorneys are going to have to navigate these waters, you know, using their best judgment, but also making sure that as a public official, he doesn't say too much about at least the case itself.
And we've already heard people who have said that he's received special treatment just in the fact that his mugshot, he didn't have to wear the towel that most people who are booked into the jail have to wear. John, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, did he receive special treatment in this? And as an attorney, what kind of request do you make in this case?
Well, I think that's a pretty small concession. The thing that sticks out to me is the fact that in most securities fraud cases, like in most fraud cases, the fraud is going to come from whether it was a legitimate program to begin with, whether the monies were used in the fashion they were represented, or if they were used in some other personal use or not. Here the fraud seems to be, as I understand the allegations, basically that he did not disclose that he had an interest or potential interest in receiving a commission, monies, whatever it was, as opposed to some fraud within the company itself. The other thing I understand is the history in this case is he settled administratively or civilly in regard to this same matter. Most of the time, or a lot of times, if that happens, there's not going to be a criminal case. So I think that should be taken into consideration whether anybody wants to determine or not if he's receiving special treatment.
And certainly you talk about the way he settled this initially through that civilly. He did have to pay a $1,000 fine for failing to register with the state. Some have said that perhaps these charges, Mr. Coggins, are political in nature.
Yeah, I don't buy the political in nature. I think John makes a good point, and that is it's rare for these things to be prosecuted criminally. The problem is the wording of the statute seems to encompass this. So there'll obviously be a lot of jockeying. There'll be some motions to dismiss filed by the criminal defendants, but if the wording of the statute covers it, the fact that we don't have district attorneys that do a lot of white-collar cases, do a lot of securities frauds cases, probably is not going to get him anywhere. You know, my advice to him, to his lawyers, he's very well represented. He's got a stout legal team around him, is I think they got to get this thing to trial quickly. Right. I mean, you know, he's bleeding now. I mean, ordinarily, settings in the state don't mean anything. You know, you get multiple settings and it plays out sometimes for years. I think he's got to go to trial and go to trial quickly.
All right. Paul Coggins, former U.S. Attorney, Ray Jackson, attorney, represented Don Hill, and John Teakell, defense attorney. Thank you all very much for being with us this afternoon. We appreciate your time and insight.
Thank you.